Okay, well, good evening. Thank you, as always, for giving us the opportunity to present on all things post-secondary going on at Lake Forest High School. Kat, I appreciate you alluding to a little of the goings-on and the appreciation you have for the work that our counselors and our educational support staff do to make sure that students, during their times at Lake Forest High School, not only engaged in activities that give them opportunities to think about things after high school, but connect them with their interests and their abilities, and to really have pathways to strive for as they really begin to look at making that transition past the high school. I'm Dr. Patrick Sasson,
One of the school counselors.
veteran school counselor who's pitched in to really lend the counselor's authentic voice at tonight's presentation. As we look at, let me see here, I'm new to Canva here, so there we go. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about our graduate data, as I do yearly, giving a sense of where our students went, what our students' plans were after high school. Megan's going to speak to kind of give an overview of the counselor's role throughout students as they matriculate through the high school, students and families. I think you're going to get a really nice in-depth view of what it's like and the services counselors provide. We're talking a lot post-college here, but the counselor's relationships with families goes well beyond that on a day-to-day basis and spans multiple siblings, so it can be over a decade in duration. She's going to speak to some of the trends in the greater college admissions landscape that we're seeing here in Illinois and across the nation. I will talk about a platform that we are proposing, helps tie a lot of our career pathway as well as our academic planning together in successive years. And then, as always, we'll talk about what our next steps are, what our aspirations are, where we see educational services. And then we've got some sincere gratitude to voice tonight. So getting into kind of the breakdown, the distribution, this is a familiar map for those of you who have seen the presentations. Every year we put together kind of a portrait of our graduates, where they've gone. You'll see the distribution by state. To note a little bit this year, we had one student choose an international route this year. Last year we had 6, which was kind of an all-time high, but I know, as Kat mentioned, we will have students pursuing the international route again this year. A few trends, more students. Typically, Illinois is the number one state. Our students, with Illinois being the number one most accepted school for our students typically year in this year out, this year being an exception. But Illinois typically harbors most of the highest number of scouts at the college level. Illinois was at 56 last year. For the class of 24. Indiana saw a slight rise. Iowa saw a slight rise, and the University of Iowa particularly has 10 students at it this year for the first time in a long time. Northeast saw modest growth with states like Maryland and Rhode Island having a couple students going to them for the first time in a few years. Southeast has been seeing modest growth over the last several years. This year, Florida and Texas actually saw fewer students coming from Lake Forest High School. Last year, I mentioned in total, our students attended 134 colleges across the nation. This year, that dipped to 124. But what I'm seeing over the course of my time is the number of students who are going, the number for the colleges where the most students are going is dipping, and it's starting to level out. There are a variety of options for our students. Our counselors do a really nice job of keeping them aware of what those options are and really meeting students where they are, given they've had 2.5, 3 years of really getting to know who they are as individuals and as learners. In terms of most attended, most applied to, this year I included the most applied to because I thought it was interesting to see if there was any correlation. This year Indiana had the most students from the class of 2024 with 22, and Illinois came in second. Colorado Boulder saw a significant increase from last year. Miami is an annual contender for that, and this year then the University of Iowa, Wisconsin-Madison, and typically College of Lake County has a strong cohort of students attended as well. But I thought it was interesting when you look at the most applied to schools, there is correlation, and when you think about it, with Illinois receiving 147, so 147 Lake Forest seniors, which is right on about 50% of the class, applied to the University of Illinois, and 20 students decided to go. That's a 14% yield rate. So it shows the work colleges across the country are having to do to try to get their yield rates commensurate with what they expect year over year. With the Common App, as we've talked in presentations in the past, students are applying to anywhere between 12 and 15 schools on average every year, and they're picking typically only one. Absolutely.
Is it unusual that Indiana, more kids choose to go to Indiana than Illinois? Isn't it typically more of our kids do choose?
The last several years, my reports have shown that Illinois is number one, and in years past, CLC has been two, with then other Big Ten schools and some Southeast schools rounding it out. So, yeah.
It's unusual that Indiana don't have it.
Yeah, at least in the last 3 to 4 years that I can recall. All right. Kind of the numbers breakdown for the class of 2024 is we saw 336 of the 345 reporting were attending a 2 or 4 year college, which is why our services throughout the year are so focused on those. But as you'll see in successive slides, that work is broadening to include students who might be interested in attending a gap year. Our College Resource Center has a wall of gap year opportunities, and seniors receive communication on that. We've had students enter the workforce. Last year we had 2 students enter the military. But I think the column on the right shows just the extent to which our students report in their senior exit survey, how often they use counselors for the college search process. Typically less than 1 in 4 students report that they hire a private tutor for college search process. They report utilizing their counselors significantly even outside the seminar format, which I've described in years past. And 94% report experiences with their counselors as good or excellent. Getting into the weeds of the senior exit survey, which I didn't provide tonight, the comments that really speak to students saying, look, you had me when I was a freshman. I came into your office every day sophomore year and you were there. My counselor helped me out with everything from grades to personal life to getting a job to making that final decision. Or, I'm sorry you're going to have my brother in 2 years, but unfortunately he's in 7th grade and he's going to be crazy. So, but really those one-off comments were, there were several comments from students who chose simply to say in their waning days at Lake Forest High School, thank you for everything you did to me. It was not lost on me, the care that you gave, academic and both personal and emotional as well. Megan?
All right, so I know Patrick has done, given an overview of what we do. It is a hard job to describe. When people ask me, and I've done it for 25 years now, what do you do? I'm like, well, we do a lot. There's just a lot. And they're like, well, what do you do all day? And I'm like, well, we just do a lot. So I thought maybe I would try and reframe that a little bit. So in terms of things that we do seminars with the students. We do have a curriculum that we feel is very appropriate developmentally for where the kids are in their phase of development. You don't want to give them too much information about the college process when they're freshmen to create anxiety. They're not ready for that. But you do want to give them a 4-year academic plan. You do want to help them understand what a GPA is, how their grades should reflect their ability, and why it's important to work hard and make sure that that does show who you are. So we have a developmental curriculum, and we meet with the students, and we try to deliver that at more of the age-appropriate time so that we don't increase stress and anxiety about the college application process. We do use Naviance. We have goal setting surveys that the students do. We have opportunities to use that information as we're meeting with them and kind of see what their interests are and their future goals might be, so that we can better help them just with their individual plans. So we do a lot of these things. We have a college planning meeting with the juniors and their families that these are coming up. We finish registration. We roll right into college planning meetings. So just right about now, I started scheduling those and try to keep it to 3 a day of those. But we'll be doing that all the way through March and April. So we're excited to get started with that. And we have a lot of resources and parent presentations that we have available for families that are navigating through this process. But I did want to talk a little bit more about the relationship that we have with families, because I think it is unique as counselors. And we just met with the 8th graders last week. We were over at Deer Path for a couple days. We were at Lake Bluff the prior week. We have an opportunity to see these kids in 8th grade and start to get to know them and meet their parents and help them with that transition. And some families have one student only that goes through Lake Forest High School, and they'll know us for 4 years, and we're grateful for that time that we have with them. Other families have 3 or 4 kids that might go through, and for some families, we might work together for many, many years, and that is a pretty awesome opportunity that we love. And in that time, we have the chance to establish rapport with the families, trust with them, and earn an opportunity to help them navigate the bumpy road of high school. And that includes future planning, but it also includes math class, and it includes getting up and going to school on time, and it includes a lot of everyday things that can be a real challenge for students. So that opportunity, when I started 25 years ago, I thought I was going to be working with high school kids. And I do work with high school kids, but I did not realize that 50% of my job would be working with parents and families. And I have grown to really, truly love that. At first, it was a little bit of a shock. But I've really grown to value those collaborative relationships and the opportunities that we have to just partner with parents and help them navigate, reassure them that these things are normal, that they're not the only parent dealing with, the challenges of high school and the challenges that their kids may come across. So it's been an awesome opportunity. We have a unique relationship with the kids. And one of our other roles is to be a strong student advocate. And we advocate for our students with teachers. We advocate for our students with administrators. We advocate for their future plans with department chairs regarding curriculum. We advocate in a lot of ways. We don't always make friends when we advocate for our students, but that's not our goal. Our goal is to really help our students and to do our best to make sure that they have the opportunities that they should have at Lake Forest High School. So we advocate with parents, we advocate with teachers. Sometimes we advocate for parents with their own students, depending on if they need a little bit of help delivering a message of reality. We can help with that too. And in a given day, we communicate constantly. We are communicating nonstop via email, trying to keep our inbox to a manageable amount where we're able to make sure that we're getting back to families in their questions. Also problem solving and handling things in a quick and efficient manner, but also taking time to reply and make plans for the things that take a little bit longer. So these are some of the things that we do. We communicate with a large variety of parties on a wide range of topics every day, and that's probably common for many educators. Some of the examples might be in a given day. Mrs. Miles, when are yearbook pictures? Will I get into college if I drop this math class? I can't get my student to school on time. What do I do? How do I help get them up? How can you help me get my student up in the morning? And we'll sit down and we'll talk about it. And sometimes it's very helpful to have another person other than your parent have those conversations with you that can be a little bit of a reality check. How can I get my student more connected socially? Mrs. Miles, can you help me write a statement of continued interest to a school that I was deferred from? We help organize intervention plans for students on a small basis, on a large basis. Is it just a math content issue? Is it 3 classes that we're not doing well in? Is there more going on? What do we need to really assess here? So we do a lot of what we call triage in our office, trying to really assess what are the challenges, what are the things that we need to help with, and sometimes just listening to parents who just need to run some things by you and say, is this, are you seeing this in other places? What are some resources that you might have for me? So that's a little bit of what we do as counselors. We change gears quickly, and we work hard to help our students with their past and their present and their future. So that's a little bit of our role.
Cool. Could I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
So since you've been doing it for 25 years, what's changed for you if you think back maybe 2014, 2015? What's dynamically changed in terms of how you think of the job back then, but now today?
I mean, there's some things that definitely have changed in terms of just communication tools. We used to be on the phone all the time, and this is similar to, I'm sure, many of you in your positions, but we used to be on the phone all the time. I had a big phone pad thing on my phone so that you could type and look up the kids' grades and still, communicate. And now there a lot of communication with students and parents happens via email. The kids are busy and they don't always have time to pop into your office, but they feel free to email you during study hall. Hey, Mrs. Miles, can we talk about this? What do you think about this class? What do you think about this school? So we do a lot of communicating with them that way. Other things that have changed, I feel like kids are very much the same in a lot of ways. A little bit more anxiety possibly about some of the future. The number of applications for colleges has changed. That is definitely something that we can help them navigate. But in terms of kids and families and challenges, I do think we have more resources now than when I first started, significantly more resources in terms of helping students who are struggling, more interventions, which are great. Really, really helpful for tutoring and, work completion and executive functioning help and all of those things. So those are wonderful resources that we have at our fingers now.
Great. And then one says you look forward, just to put you on the spot, says you look forward for the next couple years and things that you think are paramount or you'd like to see that can help support you, and kind of what are the next steps you kind of think or see coming in your eyes?
That's a harder question. We are busier, and that is a little bit of a challenge. And so that in terms of support, and we are talking about ways that we might be able to support us a little bit in some of the more clerical areas. But we've taken over 504 management as well, and we're going to be down one counselor next year. So we are increasing our numbers a little bit, although similar to what it was when I started, but we did have a college counselor when I started. So it's, it'll be new challenges. We're trying to navigate those changes as we can. I think we'll still be available for families. They might just have to wait a little bit longer for response time, but we will be there and we will help them solve their problems. And we will be able to be there for the kids. So we enjoy them very much. Kat's one of my students, so I get to wink over at Kat over there. But yeah. Okay. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Because high school was new, and high school in her mind became all about what college was. What has changed in the last 10, 15, 25 years in the way the counseling department manages that stressor in our kids' lives? They come to high school knowing what I do here impacts what I'm doing now. And I don't think they feel that way coming out of middle school or high school.
No, you're right. And especially junior year, we see it a lot junior year. We do try to manage those anxieties and really try and just reassure kids that, I think if we focus on 50 schools in the nation, we're going to create a lot of stress. If we talk about all the amazing opportunities there are for future planning, there are so many paths and so many ways to go. And so we try to really focus on the match of schools and not the name of a school. I think that is a disservice to talk about the names of schools. Some of the schools really right now, it's like trying to get tickets to a sold out show. That's what I tell my students. This is not you or your, this has very little to do with who you are as a person or your achievements. It's just that there's so many people trying to get tickets. You just can't get, you've been on, Ticketmaster for 3 days and staying up late and you just can't, get there. So we try and remind them that there are so many great options and to find the place that fits their needs and that they're lucky to have our amazing kids. And the colleges do know that. Our kids are pretty awesome. That is for sure. They're pretty amazing. So I did want to talk about a few trends so that we keep us moving along that we're seeing. Wait, no, Patrick, did I go the wrong way? What did I do? Okay, there. I fast forward twice. Okay, so Patrick asked me to just share a couple of things. So I'm sharing one that is brand spanking new. We are very excited about this. This is a direct admission program that the universities of Illinois are starting for students. This is a trend across the nation in states for public universities right now. So you're seeing different states. I was wondering when Illinois was going to be jumping on board. Wisconsin started last year. And here we are. So they are starting right now, January 2025. This applies to our current kids. And there is a new direct admission program for 8 of the schools in Illinois. So our 3 most competitive state flagship universities are still not participating, but the anticipation is that they will join this in some way in the next few years. And ISB is going to be putting some pressure on that process. But Chicago State, Eastern Illinois, Northern Illinois, Northeastern Illinois, Governor's State, Southern Illinois, Carbondale, Southern Illinois, Edwardsville, and then Western Illinois are all participating in this direct admission program. And what direct admission means is they're trying to reduce barriers in the application process for students to get offers of admission to colleges. And so I love the way that Illinois is doing this. And basically, if students just create a Common App account, which involves very minimal information, and put in their current grade point average, and their GPA scale. So for Lake Forest High School, that would be a 5.0 scale that we're on. So they put in their GPA, they put in the scale, and then these colleges have a GPA cutoff that is the minimum that they would be looking for admission for these kids. Every week, the colleges are going to be gathering that information from Common App and updating it. And if a student meets their criteria on their Common application, they're going to get a little flag that says, you have been admitted to Western Illinois University with, very, very little information so far. And they're counting on the fact that our students are taking the Illinois high school graduation requirement courses, and they will verify it with a copy of the transcript, but they will offer them admission as long as they complete the application. And when they do complete the application, they will not have to do the essay or do teacher recommendations. So they're really limiting the amount of information that they need from the kids. And that's going to be, it's literally starting right now. So you guys might even see it in your Common application popping up this in the next few weeks. It will be available for the class of 2026 in September. So for those kids, when they start doing their applications, this is going to be something that pops up for them right away. And in the beginning of the year, we meet with our students, we do a Common App account, and we have them fill out and match up their Naviance accounts. When we do that this next year, we're also going to have them include that one last piece of information, which would be their GPA. So when we meet with them early in September, they're going to be able to have these offers of admission, every student that... So that would be, I know we don't have a huge cohort that attends Illinois state schools, but they would now have this opportunity, and this is for every kid. So it's pretty exciting. And we're hoping that Illinois State, at least Illinois State and University of Illinois Chicago, would jump on this bandwagon. U of I has some different recommendations and requirements that might make GPA alone a little bit tricky to use as a criteria, but it's exciting as a development. So anyway, that is brand new, happening right now. And then the other trend of test score optional is continuing, and we are finally able to track that. So I did want to just give you guys a little bit of data on that. COVID happened, standardized testing was impossible to get to. The kids were driving to Indiana. I think, wasn't your daughter one of those kids? She had to drive to Kentucky to take the ACT, Patrick's daughter. It was crazy. Kids couldn't take the tests, so they just said you don't have to take the test anymore. As they did that, they put that on like a 5-year plan. So that 5-year plan is starting to kind of trail off. Now they're going to have some data. Those kids that applied test score optional, what does that look like? How are they performing in the colleges and universities? So colleges and universities are reflecting on this. Some of them have added back in the test score. They feel like it's a component that they need. Not very many have done that. Some schools have done that only for certain majors. If you're an engineering major or a business major or something that requires a lot of math, they might want to see that math score. Lots of colleges are still test score optional and will remain so and have made a commitment to that. But for us, since we can now track it, last year, 2023, we had at least 871 applications that students submitted without test scores. And in 2024, we had at least 1,011 applications that were submitted without test score. And I say at least because this is self-collected from students who we ask in May about their process in November. And believe it or not, if you have a senior, they can not always remember which ones they did and did not. But they do remember when they for sure didn't send it. So we have at least 1,011 last year that went that way. Of those, 489 of the 2023 class of 871 applications, those students were admitted without those test scores, and 605 this last year of 2024 of the 1,011 applications were admitted without test scores. It's a challenging thing to navigate for kids right now because many students will send their test score to one school, not send it to another school, and we as counselors try to help them make those decisions. It is ultimately a family's decision whether or not they want to send a score anywhere, but we do try and help them navigate which schools it might be an asset and which schools it might be helpful for scholarship money and which schools maybe it might be best not to send that score to. So kids are navigating that, which I think is a challenge, a new challenge. If we were talking about new things, that's hard to know. Is my score good enough to help me, or is it going to hurt me? And schools have different policies. So that's a hard one to navigate, but we are trying to help them with that. And the optional option is just great for students who don't, where their grades are a much stronger indicator, than their test score would be of their success. Okay, I'm talking too much. Last thing I want to talk about was early decision. So the early decision process, Patrick mentioned yield a little bit ago. Colleges, with the number of applications increasing, have a little bit of trouble predicting how many, we have this many dorm rooms, we have this many beds for students. How many kids do we admit to get the number of students in the beds and not overdo that? So we have to go and have kids staying in a hotel. How do we navigate that? So they use a combination of opportunities. They use early admissions for that, they use early decision for that, and then they use their wait list for that. So they'll take some kids this way, and then if they're under a little bit, they'll go to that wait list. If they're over, they might not go to their wait list that year, and that's how they sort of navigate that, kids in beds. But the early decision option is a great option for both kids and for schools, because for a school it means if this student applies early decision, they are making a commitment to attend. If I admit them, they are a 100% yield for me. So that is a really good thing for them. So a lot of schools take a number of their kids that way. Certain schools take more than half of their class with early decision. Our kids are taking advantage of that opportunity. And there also is now, early decision deadline is in November 1st. And there is now a movement to have these early decision 2 applications that are coming out in January. So the schools want to try and get the kids that didn't get into their early decision 1 school, because they're high-end kids, they're strong students, and they want to give them another chance to do that. So they often will have an early decision 2 opportunity, and that happens in January, which is the same date as the regular deadline. So you're applying to a school, and if Patrick's applying and I'm applying, I might be applying early decision and he might be applying regular decision, and I'm the one who's telling the school, if you take me, I'm coming, I am 100% in. It helps the schools navigate that yield and the sincerity of the students and their applicants. So numbers of our kids who have done that. In 2022, we had 81 students apply ED1, and we had 18 students who applied ED2. 42 of those applicants were accepted to their early decision school. In 2023, we had 115 students who applied ED1, 20 students who applied ED2, and 54 of those applicants were accepted into their ED school. And last year in 2024, we had 104 students apply ED1, 26 students apply ED2, and 53 of those students were accepted into their early decision school. So it continues to be a really nice opportunity for our students. About a third of the class is choosing to engage in that. It does not always make sense for every kid, but we do encourage the kids to take advantage of that statistical benefit when they can. And our kids are doing that on a regular basis and having success with that route. So that's a cool thing as well. And I think those were all of my trends. Any questions on those things?
I gotta say one more thing. So every time I run into Megan at Target or Heinen's or any place else in our shared community, I swear I'm not gonna fall all over her with gratitude. And I do it every single time. Like the endorphins I get when I see you, because you believed in my kid when I did not believe in my kid. And so we had these sessions where Megan would give this kind of information at this speed, and we were just absorbing. And then Megan would turn around, she put in an audience. I think you should go to this school. I think you should take a gap year. And we just followed the plan, and it was phenomenal. So I'm going to do this to you, I think, every time I see you, and I can't stop. So thank you for everything.
Sally. Okay, I'm going to be brief in bringing this to a conclusion. Megan, that was phenomenal. That really, really, really was what I was hoping, the voice and the authentic insights as to the day-to-day and in the trenches with our students and families, as our counselors do. I've referenced career pathway programming in the past, and Steve Douglas referenced it, reported on it early this year. So I'm not going to go into great detail. I will say last year we stood up through ISB 3 career pathway endorsements. The career pathway endorsements are in the different career clusters. This past year, we had a new media pathway, an environmental science pathway, and a CNA, the certified nursing pathway, 2 at the high school, 1 through tech campus. We are required by ISB to add 3 per year through 2030. We thought we'd add 9 this year, so we're proposing 12 this year, including the 3 that were approved by ISB. ISB's in the approval process, but the work that Steve Douglas has done as the business department chair and career pathways department chair is really integral in creating the pathways that we believe will give students an opportunity to aspire to certain things, have conversations, and really reflect with their families and their counselors and their teachers on, are there pathway endorsements that I, by virtue of what I sign up for, what I plan for, what I already do extracurricularly after school, can I achieve? And do I want that endorsement on my diploma? Do I want that endorsement on my 7th semester transcript when I submit it to my colleges of choice? And so we're really looking to accelerate and amplify the pathways that we provide. Part of that vehicle is through dual credit classes. A 6-hour component of a pathway endorsement, regardless of the field, is 6 hours of dual credit or AP instruction. We offer 32 AP courses. This year we offered 5 dual credit courses, but for an example, we are offering a new course, dual credit business principles class through the partnership with the College of Lake County. That dual credit business principles class, which is a freshman semester class, all classes can sign up for it, will be a foundational dual credit opportunity that will give our students an opportunity to potentially pursue a career pathway endorsement in accounting, marketing, business, entrepreneurship, and law. So it's one of those foundational classes. Steve's worked very closely with the College of Lake County, with Loyola University, and with Lake Forest College. Our goal is to expand authentic dual credit opportunities for our kids at the smallest cost possible for our families, and that depends a lot on materials and the partnerships and the institutions. We are casting a net to say, are we partnering with the right colleges? Are there cost prohibitive factors with these relationships? And can we spread a wider net around other community colleges and universities in the area? The last thing I'll say about the Career Pathway Endorsement Program is we are not the endorsement plans. We are not in an arms race with neighboring districts. This is not about building as fast as we can. This is not about putting a glossy magazine together with all of the different pathways. This is about building authentic, genuine working relationships for our kids, meeting them where their interests are, giving them an opportunity to reflect, get a sense of their aptitudes and interests in different areas, speak to professionals, go to job sites, do internships, visit companies, and really, really have a better sense of where they fit in the things that they are interested in, so that as they join with their counselors in pursuing post-secondary, it could look myriad ways, but it truly is more opportunities for them to tap into their passions and their interests. I mentioned the platform that would help us kind of warehouse all of this data. My first year in the district, we were partnering with ECRA to try to pilot what we called a personal scout hub, which was going to be for our students a personal scout hub that would allow them to access all things, aggregate and access all things academic and extracurricular, jobs, resumes, while Well, we have done much of that work in Naviance. In August of last year, the Regional Office of Education and Lake County Superintendent gave every public school in Lake County access to the School Links career endorsement platform. So we began to dabble in that and see what it could provide us. The snapshots here, the screenshots here are essentially what our students would see if we began to expand School Links to really be the platform that's comprehensive, that's the warehouse that students can utilize to track four-year academic planning, post-secondary planning, all resume building, career and aptitude surveys, the results of these aptitude surveys, then filling, if you see on the bottom left, the dashboard with a news feed, students who utilize career surveys or aptitude surveys in School Links once their results are registered, once they've liked or favorited a certain career or cluster, will begin getting news feeds in their personal dashboard specific to those careers, whether it be area internships, whether it be jobs or job fairs. So we believe this is all things career pathway as well as academic and post-secondary. And so we want to be thoughtful about this because right now our seniors and our juniors are facile in Naviance as it relates to college applications. We don't, as our counselors, absolutely. We want to be thoughtful in terms of the timing. We're not going to rip Naviance away from our juniors for next year, so we're going to do a slow 2-year rollout, migrating in incremental so that our freshmen, sophomores, and juniors next year will begin to dabble in it and get used to it and begin to utilize it, while our seniors will have a known entity to do the college admissions process. Lastly, as always, where are we looking to in partnership with the stakeholders that we've been speaking to tonight? Continuing to expand our dual credit opportunities. That's the partnerships we have with area schools, the classes and the curriculum we want our students to experience, and then the teachers and how they are credentialed in order to be able to teach dual credit courses. We want to continue to expand career pathway endorsement areas, utilizing School Links as that warehouse for students to aggregate and track their progress. We want to work this next year on a very thoughtful migration to School Links so that all stakeholders have the information they need, so that it's a product that our families can utilize to the fullest hilt. And our counselor, we want to continue to build that senior capstone that Dr. Lenart referenced, delineating, as it's delineated in our strategic plan, facilitating students to highlight their personal growth during their time at Lake Forest High School. These reflective pieces can be an opportunity for our students to differentiate themselves during the college search process. And lastly, we'll continue to engage in professional and program development to ensure our students and families have access to the most updated information during the college search process. Lastly, we wanted to take an opportunity to thank specific members of the school community, specifically our school counselors, for the care and guidance they provide, our ed services staff for the post-secondary work they partner with students on, every teacher who wrote a college recommendation or half a dozen college letters of recommendation. As I mentioned, Mr. Steve Douglas for his work on the career pathways, the 115 board for your continued energy and enthusiasm around this, Drs. Montgomery, Drs. Lenart, Dr. Fitzsimmons on your support and your ongoing conversations and guidance with this, all of our community partners and our parent groups who excitedly give our students opportunities to see workplace environments or have professional conversations around what a day in the life of an attorney or a business person is. And then Megan wants to give her gratitude.
I was just, we do have one of our counselors who is retiring this year after a long career with Lake Forest High School. So he's not here tonight, but we did want to just, as a team of counselors, just share for a moment just our appreciation of Brad Naughton and his service over the years to Lake Forest High School. When I started 25 years ago, I was this young counselor, and Brad was the closest to my age, but he had been there for a while. And then it was all folks who had been there a very long time. And so Brad became my mentor and really shared with me what I was supposed to do and what I was not supposed to do. And very clearly he did this. And when I'd volunteer for too many things, he'd like, you have to stop. Like, you cannot do all these things. So in terms of Brad Naughton, he has been a huge, huge asset to our counseling team. He started as a history teacher, became a counselor, always refers to his job as his profession, his career, his choice and his passion. He's very passionate about being an educator and the career that has provided for him. We are going to miss his professionalism greatly. He has an excellent sense of humor, and he also brings farm logic to the table all the time after growing up in Sterling, Illinois, surrounded by farmland. He has some great stories and some really good farm logic, as we like to call it. We will also miss his disdain for icebreakers, which I think probably some people share. He's just more vocal than others about that. He's kind of our Ron Swanson, if you will, of the counseling department. And I think he has an excellent rapport with students and athletes, and that is seen clearly every day. There are track kids that come in and spend time with him and appreciate his leadership, both in the weight room. I was down there the other day and saw him trying to teach maybe 20 girls how to do power cleans and push press in the weight room, which is a challenge with all those kids. And he just handles it amazingly. And they listen to him, they respect him, and they adore him. I think mostly we're going to miss the perspective that he has. It comes with a lot of experience and just a lot of years of experiencing variety of student situations, parent situations, and navigating them with grace for his kids. So we are going to miss him greatly and appreciate his many years of service to Lake Forest High School in so many areas. So we appreciate Brad, even though he is not here. Wanted to share that.
And if there are any other questions, we're happy to answer them. But thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Really insightful. A lot of good stuff. And I know the effort's tremendous over there. So thank you.